Well, it certainly almost doesn't fit on the bench, but this is a JBL John B. Lansing PSW-D110 Subwoofer. Did go ahead and add a piece of adhesive tape to the serial number. It was almost ready to fall off there. It's got the big glory hole, or the base port as some people call it. And the customer says it has a loud hum, whether it's connected or not to an audio source. Let's try to get this. Hard to do it one-handed without dropping everything on the workbench. There we go. It does seem to have a min-max level on the front and possibly some kind of an indicator LED. Let's take a look. I'd expect to see like a big old 15-inch subwoofer in this baby. No, it looks like a little 10-inch. Wow. It's probably got some good bass though. Well, next thing I'm going to do is power this thing on and see what it wants to do. One moment. And just for reference, here's the text I got from the customer about bringing this thing in. And I asked him what it was. He sent me a picture of it. 2 pictures, actually. Other people had the same problem. I'm at least 3 months out, which you can tell by the date right there. Yeah, so I guess he got it dropped off, and then he just checked back a few days ago, wondering if I've had a chance to work on it. And based on my home improvement project, no, I have not. But we are getting to it right now. Okay, well, I do have it sitting here on the bench. And I've not applied power. Let's go ahead and apply power and see if we hear a hum from it. That was the current consumption in the 1.5 amp range, as you can see right there. So about 65 watts it looks like. So yeah, definitely got an issue going on. Well, let's go ahead and try to get this thing open in the back. I noticed there are screws, luckily. Pull this thing out, take a look around. Maybe we just got a corroded cap eating away at a trace. Well, because of the odd shape of this thing and my tiny workbench, I can't really show you too much. So let's get the screws out of this guy. We'll take a look inside and see what it has to say. Man, these things are in there. Now let me find an egg carton to put these guys in. There we go. We'll just set it up here for the time being. And then hopefully this will, whoops, helps if you get all the screws out. It's not really a suggestion, obviously. That didn't help. We're going to need to pry. I mean, the strain relief should let go. There it goes. Okay. Okay, well there I can see where the speaker is connected. So, interesting. I don't know if you can see this or not, but the nomenclature right down there, let's see if I can zoom in, maybe. Let me move things possibly around where you can get a little bit better view. Look at that, it says speaker plus on this side, and it's got the black lead. Speaker minus is the blue lead. So let's see if these guys will peacefully unplug, and they will. Looks like an audio input cable. Zoom back out so you can see what's going on. This is probably the LED, which I really don't care about. And this looks like an audio input cable that is definitely boogered in with RTV. Well, is it going to release nicely? Yep. Oh, that's interesting. It's a 4-pin connector with only 3 pins being used. Okay, well, I certainly expected a little bit more than that. Let me get this into view and get the big thing off the bench, and we'll go forward from there. One moment. Well, unfortunately, with the amplifier out, I see we may have had a visitor in here at one time or another based on the little remnants left behind down here. Luckily, it's not in here now, because that would be bad. It would be stinking up the joint. But everything else looks good in here. See if I see anything else. It'll focus. Come on, focus today. Maybe a couple back in that corner. Kind of hard to tell at the angle that I'm at. And of course, it dimmed way down. Yeah, I'm going to say maybe a couple right in there, but doggone it. Zoom out, please. There we go. Probably take the shop vac to it and just vacuum those things up. No hantavirus needed. Well, I certainly expected a little tiny bit more in this box. What is in the S53AMI? Is it some kind of a preamp, a driver equalization, maybe? Is that the power amp? Because I'm not seeing output transistors anywhere. There's a pot, switch, pot, input jacks, speaker jacks. I expected to see something mounted up against this heatsink. So I'm thinking that is the power amplifier. That is the heatsink for it. So it must be a Class D digital amp. Oh dear, I'm betting there's going to be surface mount capacitors in that guy. But I am seeing, look at these resistors right here, those three across there. And it looks like they even used RTV. Good for them to actually use RTV. Whoops. But take a look at the color of the RTV on the bottom. It's turned black. These things have been so hot. Oh, and look at the connections on those things. One moment. Macro zoom will be enabled. All right, macro zoom has been enabled. Look at that. Is that even connected? What about that one? That one's almost just as bad. That one's not too terribly bad, but I see both leads are completely broken. This one's only got the far lead broken, and this one's only got the far lead broken off the board. So what about the connections for the Class D that I believe amplifier? So we'll just take a quick look here. Sorry about the roughness as I'm dragging this across my workbench. Those connections actually look acceptable. A couple of big bolts to hold those down. Those are probably like 832s in reality. Let's zoom out. The board doesn't look too terribly bad. Let's go ahead and start by checking ESR of all the capacitors that I find on the board before I start touching this amplifier right there. One moment, let me get the ESR meter out. All right, so I've got my ESR meter out and I'm prepping the leads. I always twirl them around and unplug them to get low resistance readings. We'll go ahead and short the leads out. I got 0.08, 0.09. Hit the reset button. And do I have a lead resistance issue? We'll call that 0. I did go ahead and make a roadmap of all the cap locations and the values as viewed from the bottom of the board. So I believe these are going to be speaker coupling caps most likely because they are non-polar caps. Main filter caps and probably just some audio coupling caps here. Let's go ahead and check them all and see what they have to say. Yeah, definitely speaker coupling. Look at the orientation. It goes from in to out. So I don't expect to see any issues on these guys at all. 0.05, perfectly fine. and 0.0506. So this is a 10 at 63 volts, 2.5 ohms. I'm good with that. Do you see what I see? 18 ohms? That is way too high. That's what I want to see. 0.02, 0.03 ohms. So at a minimum, we have a failed filter cap. 18 ohms. That is bad. What about this guy, the 10 at 50, 0.5 ohms? I'm great with that. And a 100 at 35. I'd like to see about a half ohm or less. It's close, 0.68. I would probably recommend just replacing all of the caps in addition to resoldering these resistors right there. Let me see what I've got in stock. I may have to order some caps for this thing because these are, in my estimation, substandard caps. One moment. Well, if I can get them to fit, I do have in stock some 10,000 microfarad caps at 50 volts. These are Nichicon good quality 105 degrees Celsius rated caps that I use in the Miller and Kressel subwoofers. So they're not some cheap generic caps. They are double the value effectively, so it might provide a slight more bass if he pushes it. The biggest thing is, will they fit on the board? The only thing I'm worried about is that little transistor right there, and then it's going to come dangerously close to the speaker jacks right there. I don't think they're going to fit. Otherwise, I would certainly just go ahead and use those. Although they are going to move over. I'm going to have to pull one out and see if it's going to fit. One moment. Well, I thought I'd do some measurements on these caps. Do you see what physical size they actually are? These appear to be about 22.1 millimeters in diameter. And the replacements that I have are 30 millimeters in diameter, so 8 millimeters larger. And just based on what I'm seeing down here, so if I had to put a 30 millimeter cap in this guy, yeah, there's no way. That's going to hit the speaker terminals. There's no way. And I'm at 29.7 right now. It's not even as big as the actual cap is. And I'm looking straight down on the board, and you can see the interference to the speaker terminals right there. I do have a couple of options for the customer. I've got a couple of scrap. These are out of Yamaha RXV 367, I think is one of them, and a 567 might be this one. But it's got a couple of capacitors right here. And they measure 25 millimeters in diameter, only 3 millimeters larger. I think they will fit, and they are 6,800 at 63 volts. I will, of course, ESR them. And then I do have one other board. I think this is out of the Yamaha 367. It's only got 2 of the dreaded STK chips. Incidentally, both of these have a failed STK chip, and I deemed them not worth repair. 25, basically 26 millimeters. And once again, these are 6,800 at 63 volts. So I do have options. I'm pretty sure these will fit no problem, because looking at the bottom of the board, it does give me options to fit either smaller, medium, or larger capacitors onto this board by only moving the lead on this side. So let's go and ESR the used caps and see if they're good enough, that I deem good enough to use, or if I need to go ahead and just estimate for cap replacement. One moment. Okay, this is the board with the 3 STK chips, which I believe is a RXV 567. I'm not sure. Correct me if I am incorrect, please. Let's get the ESR meter set up out here. On a 6800, I like to see probably 0.01 or 0.02 ohms. We will zero out the meter. And I see wow, did it go to 0.00? Yeah, that's excellent. And 0.00, 0.01. Yeah. Switching back and forth. Let's check the other board. which is right here. This is the one that has the only 2 STK chips, and I do believe this is the 367. Once again, I may be off. Like to see about the same value, 0.01 or 0.02. Double check our leads, 00 and 00 on that one. And 0001 on that one. So they both test absolutely perfect. I should say all 4 of them from both of the scrap boards test absolutely perfectly. Wasn't I getting 0.04 on one of these? Let's prop this guy up. I believe this one was like no, it is 0.01. I thought it was 0.04. And back to the one defective 14 ohms, 18 ohms, really? So I do think putting the used caps in is a viable option for this customer. It's totally up to the customer. However, all the rest of the caps seem to check pretty doggone good. But like I said, I'm here. I'll probably just go and change them all, with the exception of the speaker coupling caps, because I doubt that those guys are actually used. Hardly anybody uses speaker jacks. Most of them use a line level input. So I think next I'm just going to go ahead and pop a couple of the used caps in here and just test it to make sure we don't have an issue inside the amplifier board, which is possibly just FETs, nothing else. One thing I'm not seeing over here is any output filtering, which is very odd. It is Fancy Plus, however, right there. Is this the only output filtering? Maybe? Interesting. Well, let's go ahead and throw a couple used caps in this thing and make sure it actually works. One moment. All right, well, I did go ahead and pull a couple of them off here, and they are 85 Celsius. Probably going to be just fine in this application. They're Nichicons. They're not too terribly bad. So let's go ahead and throw them in here and see if this thing is going to work. Okay, here we go. Let's unsolder these filter caps. Power has been removed. And I believe the new ones will go into the same locations. I just want to go ahead and clean up the leads. When I say the new ones, I mean the used ones. I did go ahead and mark the orientation on the bottom of the board of all of the capacitors that will get replaced, just in case. Now these are siliconed down, so that one just lifted out. Oh, they're not even the snap-ins. They're just regular leaded caps, really? That one's barely holding on for life. Just regular leaded caps. That is going to pose a problem, because the lead dimensions are larger on these new caps than the holes are. So I guess I need to bust out the Dremel and trim these guys down just a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and RTV them down once we're finished. One moment. Alright, so the lead diameter has been ground down. I believe they're going to fit perfectly. I did straighten them out off camera and then round off the edges, the sharp edges. So let's go ahead and zoom in down to here. And hopefully you can see that one right there, C2. Negative goes over here where the black dot is. And we'll see if it's going to actually fit. And yeah, I'm going to say that's a win. This other one goes in backwards compared to the first one. And that is a win as well. Check for interference. That little transistor is out of the way. I did peel off the glue that was on the board, and I will have to add more glue. I'm not concerned about the non-insulation of the case, because the case is normally going to be isolated from the electrolyte in the capacitor in the first place. So let's go ahead and get these things soldered in and give it a try. Okay, they're installed. While we're here, let's go ahead and resolder these 3 connections over here. One moment. Okay, we'll go ahead and get these while we are here, because if I don't, it's going to be a crime, basically. So I'm just adding sufficient heat to get good solder flow back to the lead. Yes, I know I need to clean my tip and I'm using too much solder, but the bigger the glob, the better the job. I keep adding solder for the flux to take effect. Hopefully this is showing up on camera. Okay, I like that much better. Let me go ahead and give you a side view. And the whole lead appears to be soldered. I do like that much better. I think I have it in the manual mode. Let's put it back in auto magical. There we go. That's a much better view. Yes, I'm very happy with those connections at this point. I don't think they'll ever break loose. So let's go ahead and I'll connect a speaker. We'll power this thing on and see if it makes a buzz. One moment. Okay, main filter caps have been replaced. And let me get over here under my mess so I can actually plug this thing back in. Okay, it has been plugged in. Let's apply power and see if we get a buzz. I do have it connected to a single speaker at this point. Ooh, and I still do get a hum. Could it be? Oh, you know what? I don't have the control connected. I don't have the control. So that very well might be what's going on. I don't have the level control connected. Let me see how easily that comes out of the cabinet. One moment. Okay, so I went back out to the speaker and did an ohm check on the level pot, and it is a 5K pot. So I went ahead and added a 5K pot, and I'll put it roughly in the center. Right there, the green lead should be ground, the orange lead is the hot lead, and the yellow lead is the wiper. And you probably saw me in the time lapse attach it to the back of that jack right there. Okay, let's power this thing on. And I get no more hum whatsoever. Well, let's grab an MP3 player, connect it up to it, and see what happens. One moment. Okay, MP3 player is connected. Let's hit play. And it shows it is playing. I have volume at minimum right now. So, oops, I powered it off. There it is, power back on. Run the volume up. And it is working. Is the pot working in the correct direction? Yes, it is. Well, that little 6-inch is giving it all it can. So I'm going to say that is a fix. Okay, let's put some new caps in this thing. First, a 10 at 63 volts. And I'm not sure what the manufacturer is on this one. I know it's a good one, or fairly good. It looks like it's a Rubicon, if I could say. Yeah, Rubicon, right there. So positive goes out, as denoted by my diagram as well. And I got a couple cats playing back here. Okay, next one is going to be a 10 at 50, and this is a bipolar. I didn't realize that this was going to be a bipolar cap, so I took a couple of 22s at 50 and put them back to back, basically, positive to positive or negative to negative, and that effectively makes a bipolar capacitor. Let's get the MX168 out. We'll move this amp out of the way, and we'll just do a quick test on it and see if it's about 11 microfarads. Now 10.44, perfectly fine. 2.5 ohms ESR with a V-loss of 1%. Okay, let's get this guy back into view for you guys. This one's going to be very hard to see because it actually lives up underneath the leads right here. So I'm just going to put it down somewhat near the bottom so it doesn't touch. I'll add a droplet of silicone adhesive to that when everything is said and done. And the last one is going to be 100 at 35 volts over here. And the closest I readily have available is a 100 at 63 volts. This is a very high quality cap, possibly Worth Electronics, I'm not quite sure. There we go, yeah, Worth. These have very low ESR. I use them in the Miller and Kressel repairs. Definitely larger than the original one. So we'll just kind of push it down in place like that. We'll add the RTV, and that verifies that the leads are not touching anything on the bottom. Okay, let's get this set up for soldering. Get the leads kind of bent over right there. Get you guys centered back up. Okay, all caps have been replaced. I do like to solder one lead and then I stand up the other lead perfectly straight, as you may have seen, and then solder it and then go back to the first lead and apply heat and re-stand it up straight. It just makes it so much easier for me next time, or the next guy who services this unit possibly down the road, as opposed to folding these things flat like some of these guys do when they assemble these things. And I know this was assembled by a machine, so you got to take what you can get. I'm wondering if I might want to add just a little bit of solder to these terminals right here, just to get good adhesion, because there is going to be base involved. Get my soldering iron unstuck. Okay, well, I kind of like that a lot better than before. At least it's not going to shake loose over time. Everything else looks pretty good, so I think I'm going to go ahead and disconnect my pot, put it back in the box, and fire this thing up and see what's going to happen. Okay, now let's go ahead and put this thing back in the speaker box. I did go ahead and resolder the pots right here, the phase switch. So this is the high pass, I do believe, and this is the low pass pot. Soldered both of those. The input and output jacks, as well as all of the speaker terminals, and then of course all of these terminals. So I think this thing is going to be good. The only thing that might differ is if the customer wants new capacitors installed. Let's put it back in the box, give it a test. One moment. Well, one more thing. I did go ahead and RTV all the caps that I replaced down. Those are still secured in the original hot glue, I do believe, which is why You can see a droplet dripping out. If they would have used RTV, it would have been much better. But I did go ahead and put 3 drops of RTV around the main filter caps. And I did put a drop on top of the 2 22s and a droplet on each side to secure it, as well as the 100 right there, and then the 10, I believe that's a 10 at, what was it? 10 at 63 volts. So yeah, everything is good. Let's put it back in the box now and give it a test. And just for poop and laughter, can somebody tell me why this screw is right here? Why? Did they have a different version that something mounted there maybe? Nothing else is connected anywhere else. Why is that one lone screw with the lock nut attached right there? Inquiring minds want to know. Okay, here we go. It's reassembled. The power has been applied. I do have an MP3 player connected down here. And I do have the old capacitors for the customer taped up on the top of the unit. So volume is at minimum. Let's turn this up. And is it not playing? It is not playing. Now it is playing. Let's get some bass in here. When the bass actually starts. Oh my goodness. Why does it take so long? Here we go. Yep. It is producing bass. There we go. It is repaired. The John B. Lansing, the JBL PSW-D110. Repaired with just one filter cap that was defective. We probably could have got away with just the one, but if one's bad today, you might as well replace the other one because it's going to fail in the future. Once again, I'm going to leave this up to the customer. Does he want those 2 large filter caps replaced with brand spanking caps, or is he fine with the used ones in there? Well, if he wants new ones, we shall follow up. Well, I thought I was done with this thing and sent the customer a text just telling him I found some good quality caps. Thought he'd be happy with that, but he opted to get new caps replaced. So I do have a couple of brand spanking. These are Worth Electronics 4700s at 50. Good quality caps. I've already ESR'd them. They're between 0.01 and 0.02 ohms each. So let's go ahead and get this thing torn back apart. As you can see, I have the old parts taped up on top of the unit, which I always return back to my customers. So we'll get the board back out of this thing, and we'll go ahead and throw a couple of new caps into it. And we will add a little bit of silicone RTV to the new caps just to hold them down. I found that the silicone RTV is a much better option to the different kinds of glue that they've used over the years that become conductive over time. The silicone does not become conductive. Let's see if this is going to cooperate, and yes it did. So I'll try to get these disconnected peacefully. And I did re-glue this down. I'll have to clean the silicone back off of it right there. But let's go ahead and get these used caps out of here. I'll put them back in stock for someone else. One moment. All right, let's see if this thing's going to cooperate and give back the caps peacefully. I'm sure it will. Okay, that should be good. Let's see how well the silicone did of holding these things down. Pretty good job, but they did come off, so that's a good thing. This one might be a different story. Most of it came off. Some of it got left behind right here. And we'll pop that off. Make sure that we're clean down here. And we'll go ahead and get the new caps installed. Very gently bend the leads over. Okay, that looks good. Let me find a little block of wood to prop this board up here. All right, there we go. Going to push the cap up from the bottom. Straighten up the other lead. Once again, pushing it up from the bottom until it cures. And I'm going to heat this back up and stand the lead up so there's no stress on the leads. Okay, I'm happy with that. And let me get my little cutters. We'll cut them off flush. We'll make sure the polarity is correct. So I did mark the bottom of the board, so the negative on this cap should be to the right, the negative on this one should be to the left. And we got negative on the right and negative on the left on that one. So we'll go ahead and do a quick ESR check in circuit. Let me find my ESR meter. Hello, where are you? There you are. And we'll try to get it situated where you can see both the display and the caps at the same time. We will zero this out and do a 0 ohm check here first. And I see 0, 0. And in circuit, I see 0.01 ohms. And on the second cap, I see 0.01 ohms. Absolute perfection. I love it. Well, let's go ahead and add some RTV to these guys just to hold them down. And then we'll throw this thing back together and give it a final test. Well, I think that's going to be as good as I can get it because I can't get to the back side of these things. Maybe a little bit on that one right there. Let's see. Yeah, I just can't get down in between them. The nozzle is just not long enough, so it's going to be what it is. Maybe I should have run a bead around it to start with, but I'm not going to pull them back out at this point. I think it'll be fine. All right, let's sew this thing back together. Okay, let's put some audio into this thing and see if it makes beautiful bass. Okay, here we go. MP3 player is connected. Power on. Have the gain down at minimum right now. Yep, it is working. It's shaking everything. This doesn't have much bass either. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that thing is working. Yep, it is shaking everything. Okay, well that's going to be it. The repair on the JBL PSW-D110 subwoofer. New caps installed. This thing is ready to go back to its customer and live for many, many more years. I certainly hope you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and leave me a question, a comment, a concern down below, good or bad. I try to respond when I have time. While you're down there, if you could please hit that subscribe button and like this video. It really does help my channel grow. You can follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X at NorCal715. You can email me, NorCal715videos@gmail.com. But, like I said, I've been so busy, I haven't answered emails in literally months with the home improvement and all my busy activities going on. If you want to contact me, please just leave me a comment in one of the videos. I do check those periodically. Remember, with your help, we can try to keep these things out of the landfill, out of the recycle bin, and out of the e-waste facility. Everyone, thank you once again for making it to the end of this video. I really, really appreciate it. Everyone have a great day. Thanks so much for watching once again. Bye-bye. One, two, three, check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. This will be the intro for the PSW-D110. Cell phone recording. There we go. Audio sync intro. 1, 2, 3. Let's turn this down. And just for reference, start that over. Okay, here we go. Part 2, powering this thing on. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. So we'll go ahead and replace the other capacitors, and then I'll give the customer a Okay, now I think I'm ready to put it back in the speaker box. I did go ahead and resolder the pots. Those are not populated. They are populated. One moment. Let's take that again. Okay, here we go. Outro. Recording. Check, check, check. Okay, there are the old parts taped to the top of the unit. I've got it set back up on the workbench right here. I do have my MP3 player connected, and it is currently playing. Let's power this thing on. The level control is set at minimum. Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's working. Virtually no hum whatsoever. Just the slightest at the super minimum volume. If you put your ear up to it, you might hear it. I don't, even that close, I can't hear it. But I'm going to call that a win. Okay, hopefully the final outro. Zoom into one. And we are recording. Check, check, check. Okay, here we go. It is connected. The power has been applied. It's all reassembled. I do have all of the old parts for the customer setting up. Okay, let's start that again. Okay, here we go. It is Everyone, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. You can follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X at NorCal715. You can email me, NorCal715videos@gmail.com. As of right now, if you want to contact me, it is mid-September 2024. Leave me a comment in one of the videos, and I will try to get back to you with the house remodel and the work and everything. It's just been so tough, and I haven't been feeling well the last few weeks as well, but I'm slowly getting over it. Go and leave me a question, a comment, a concern down below, good or bad. I try to respond to the comments when I have time, which isn't much lately. That's going to be it. Everyone, thank you for making it to the end of this video. I really, really appreciate it. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Well, I certainly thought I was done with this JBL PSW-D110, and I got it all back together. It was working great. Sent the customer a text, hey, it's ready, with the used caps, and then I give them an option. Do you want some new just basic caps, some mid-grade or super high-grade caps? And he was like, yeah, let's just go ahead and put some brand new, just generic caps in this thing. So I had it back at my drop-off point, so I had to go back and get it. Let's take that over. Okay, well, let's go ahead and throw this thing back in there, get it all buttoned up, and we'll give it a final test.